introductions and get rolling. I know everyone's excited to hear the latest and greatest from Patch, and Grumpity will get started soon. Okay, everybody, we are almost ready to go. So just hang with us for a moment. We're going to get settled into some seats here, and then we'll get started. So I know there's lots of fun things to learn about from the Linden. So we'll get started shortly. Just give us a minute. All right, we've got our two awesome guests, and I think we are ready to go. I'm just going to wait for them to give me the thumbs up.
I'm ready here.
All right. Grumpity, you ready to go? Let Grumpity get settled, and we'll get started. All right. Okay, welcome everyone to the Above the Book session. I know many of you are excited for this one because we get to meet some of the Lindens. So, Patch and Grumpity, please welcome to the VWBPE conference. I know we have a lot to discuss, and I want to just dig right in and let you take off with a lot of the new features that are coming. But could we just take a moment because I'd like you to just maybe introduce yourself to the attendees. And I know for the Second Life veterans in the audience, we think of the Lindens as kind of our virtual world royalty in a sense. But also, in some ways, you're kind of the shadowy underworld figures behind the scenes at Linden Labs. Could you give us just a glimpse of what your day-to-day work environment is like at Linden Labs, or as you call it, the Linden Lab Dungeons?
Sure, I can go first. Grumpity had to relog. She lost voice, so we may have to pick her back up and get her back on. But
Okay, I'll
the
reintroduce her again.
yeah the day to day. I mean, well, so I'm Patch. I'm the VP of Product Operations for Second Life and Linden Lab. Um, Welcome back, Grumpity. And I find myself on a day-to-day basis, kind of watching over and seeing, overseeing the the general daily operation of Second Life, especially from a support perspective, because I have two departments, actually my wheelhouse, between support and all of the various teams that make that department up, and then product operations itself, which is responsible for everything kind of land related, Linden Homes, and content production wise, such as the moles and the LDPW. My days are usually full of meetings. I can promise you, it's not super exciting on the external side of things to, imagine me sitting here, going through meetings all day long, and I can promise you that's a lot of what I do. Being in the position I'm in, I participate in a lot of decision making and process and planning and such on a day-to-day basis, and making sure that everything's running right for you all. I want to, bring the best of myself, also having been a longtime former resident and current still, actually, and put that, perspective into a lot of the things that I work on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks, Patch and Grumpity. Welcome back. My first question was to both of you, and was just tell us about, again, many of us here know you or know the Lindens and know you as kind of royalty, but also as kind of shadowy underworld figures in a sense. So my first question was just kind of what is your day-to-day existence? Patch says he does a lot of meetings. What is your day-to-day hold?
Well, Patch may claim that his day-to-day is unglamorous, but in fact, our meetings are very glamorous. Um, no. It's true. If you zoom in at kind of this micro level, all we do is have meetings all day. And sometimes it's easy to get lost in that. But in fact, as I pull back and I kind of think about why we're having meetings all day, what we're doing is strategizing over long-term things, and then also having a lot of conversations about how to keep everything on track, talking to our teams, talking to stakeholders across the teams, trying to figure out how to balance the multiple competing priorities. Second Life is really complex, but at the same time, we are not that big of a company. Yet, we operate a world with the level of complexity of running a small city-state government. So a lot of what we do is balancing.
Yeah, and I think many of the educators in the audience can completely understand, meetings and problem solving are really a part of the education world as well. And again, that can be dynamic and exhilarating, meeting those challenges. So I just have to ask because I'm curious about this again from a personal level, and I know many people will. do you spend lots of, I mean, Patch had mentioned he was a resident of SL. Do you guys get a chance to spend time in SL, or is most of your, what you're working on, I assume, in the real world?
I, for myself, log in first thing in the morning when my day starts, and I am in most of the day all day long. The the real world meetings, as they were, do pull me out or draw my attention away from, particularly maybe paying attention to Second Life, at that particular moment. But in general, yes, I spent a lot of time in Second Life, and not just as myself and Patch and such, but also as my resident alt.
So you kind of have to be nice to everybody you meet in World and not just the Lindens, because you never know which one is Patch. We don't spend all day in World, but we do spend a lot of time in SL. We have meetings in Second Life. We occasionally have like whole team field trips, where we will go to some destination, oftentimes something suggested by Strawberry, for example, and just as a whole team, and kind of spend some time there. And also, different Lindens certainly have different hobbies. A lot of people don't necessarily feel like they can take on going in world as a Linden throughout their day, because when residents meet Lindens, they want to interact. And if we're, multitasking, then I kind of feel bad, right? If somebody's talking to me and I'm not responding and I can't give them my attention. So a lot of times we're logging in as alts. And certainly, as you're testing something and like making sure, is it working? Is it working as expected? You don't want to log in on a Linden account. You want to log in on a resident account. So a bit of both.
Okay, last question, just as kind of a Second Life fanboy here. I'm a big fan of the Apple TV series Mythic Quest, which is kind of the office for gaming environments. Is there any, I don't know if you've seen it, I hope you have, is that the kind of energetic, atmosphere and culture that happens at Second Life? Is it this dynamic, with I guess a really collaborative society of coders, and combined with big idea people and managers, and even just people making sure everyone's happy and working towards the cause? Is that the sense of it?
So I can try to take a stab at this first. Um, I haven't watched the show, so I admit I haven't seen it. Working at Linden is an amazing experience. It is uh, the funniest company I've ever worked for, and kind of the most irreverent atmosphere I've ever worked in, including working in a psych lab at college, and it is also very passionate. Um, I don't think anybody just feels like they're moving widgets around. People really have this kind of sense of what we're doing matters to people, and they have a very direct connection about why and how it matters. So yeah, there's kind of a combination of humor and passion, which as a result leads to collaboration.
I love that answer. Pat, you want to add anything to that?
I don't think I can add too much more to that. That is pretty much what also resonates with us. I mean, although I sometimes sit here and think, since you mentioned The Office, that I look around and say, oh yeah, we behave just like them on the show. But yeah, I haven't seen Mythic Quest, unfortunately, so I can't relate.
All right. It must just be me. Um, well, thank you both for answering those kind of just quick questions. So I think certainly what most of the people are here for is to find out what are your future plans with Linden Lab. Tell us the goodies and the projects projects that you have going. And I think again you both answered the question. And what I loved about what you just said, especially Grumpity, is there's passion behind that, because I think we as Second Life people, even in education, there's passion with us too, and Second Life pulls that out. So glad to see that goes across all the boards. So, but let's dig into what you've got new and exciting, and I'm really going to just turn it over to both of you to explain that.
Oh, you may have heard there's something mobile, something. Um, we're working, I think, the headline news is that we are working on a mobile viewer for Second Life. Certainly not the first time. Um, and it's looking pretty cool. I got excited about it when I got to see my avatar in like its full glory, and it looked great, and the world looked amazing. And when we were taping the video for the announcement that we're working on mobile, I went to the butterfly preserve and I was like, wow, I can see the whole thing, and it really looks great. Because when we were starting, it's not the first attempt at mobile, and so we were thinking we'll have to compromise here and we'll have to compromise there. But the key thing is really, people really care about their avatars and seeing what's immediately around them. And what we're getting is so much more. And I am an Android fan forever and ever, and a lot of people are not. And so we're building, it's not because of the Linden employees' preference, but we're building both for Android and iOS, and it works on tablet. And who knows where things may go from there. But we're excited about both. And now that everybody else is excited, there's a teeny bit of pressure. So we're targeting a beta. The feature set's going to be very limited. Our initial target is really for existing users. But we've also been thinking about, what some of the immediate classroom applications might be and what the longer term stuff might be. So what do you think, Patch?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of potential use cases and uptake when we get to the point of being able to broach the features that will be needed in such an environment, such as being able to, hey, I've got classes being held in Second Life, and I'm in a position right now where I can jump in and participate in those in real time on like a tablet or even a phone, because there'll be voice and everything, and then maybe for kind of longer, larger project type based needs, there's always, of course, the desktop viewer to lean back on for something like doing a lab, right? The mobile viewer will always be a bit more simplistic at heart compared to the desktop viewer, but I think it's going to be an excellent complement to the ease of just being able to get in and get going in an environment like what you guys are used to having in a hurry and fast.
Yeah, so I can imagine even doing something like this from a mobile phone, uh, uh, and hoping that the battery doesn't die halfway through. So like attending a lecture, sure, but if you need to upload stuff or have complex interactions with objects, I think that mobile application is a little further away. I saw a question go by in chat about voice support. We are planning to support voice. It won't be in the first beta, most likely, though. There'll be additional complexities to work out from what we can see so far. But we are targeting streaming audio earlier on.
So I'm seeing some of the chatter back and forth between iOS and Android. Did you say that it was Android to start?
It's both.
Okay.
So both teams win.
So it looks like a lot of chatter about that, and I think was let me just maybe ask about this, and maybe you don't have that inside knowledge on this one, but I mean, I think people have wanted mobile for some time, but also, we don't want to sacrifice the functionality. Was that kind of the hang up as you were developing it? You wanted to make sure that functionality was there?
You know, frankly, I think the big hang up as we were trying to develop a mobile app has been the complexity of Second Life environments. Both avatars and environments, um, because everything in SL, or nearly everything, is user-generated content, and what isn't is mole-generated content largely, right? A lot of things aren't optimized, and figuring out a way for the world to look the way we really wanted it to has been one of the harder things. And also, frankly, the hardware on your phone has really evolved. Um, what you've got in your pocket is now more powerful than what you had in your desktop when SL was getting started by leaps and bounds, I think.
Patch, anything to add to that, or
No, I don't. I don't think I have anything to add to that.
so for those of us that are educators, I know will this functionality you mentioned, I think you hinted at it, there's some kind of classroom application possibilities for a mobile app, or is that just in its function?
I think initially it's going to be broad and pretty basic, right? So if you saw the intro video that we did, the teaser, there's no UI right now. You basically can move around and you can see chat. We wanted to start with making sure that we could do the hard things, and now we're starting to build out the functionality a bit more. Um, and the first set of functionality is going to be the broadest and most basics. It's going to involve ability to maybe go to a few places, to see people, to chat, and that's kind of it. Maybe a few additional things that we'll pick up along the way. And that'll be the first beta. So will the beta be super usable for education purposes? Not beyond attending a class or an event, right? As we build out the app, I think the feature set will become richer. It will never have complete parity with desktop. So I would say for educators, it's going to be a combination of these.
So you mentioned in kind of our conversation, there's new starter avatars. Is that something coming down the line, or other education applications?
Yeah. So part of also even mobile, right, and our initiatives around it is to establish mobile-friendly onboarding paths. And while not directly tied to, but also in relationship to it, we are working on the new user starter avatars, which are complete full mesh models from head to toe, new bodies and heads, basically, of a modern take on having an actual default avatar, and also a full complement of clothing. And we see that along with making onboarding easier and the modernization with the mesh avatar, lending itself to educators being able to potentially create direct onboarding pathways that could have custom up to date modern mesh avatars in their join flow, so that will make it a lot easier to get people in and using it. There's some viewer changes tied to that that will also help with simplifying the ability to make avatar appearance changes and such. And this is kind of part of our efforts in getting Second Life to be, more usable across the board from an onboarding perspective to bring new users in.
That's right. And this is going to be an ongoing effort. So the first piece, I think, will be the join flow and kind of the web onboarding experience, where you will see the new avatars as the starter avatars. You'll be able to customize the appearance a bit. The second piece of that that will be later on in time will also simplify customization in the viewer. And I'm sure the third-party viewer community will build on that as well. We will also be able to leverage this in mobile, and so a user first starting in mobile would be able to just customize their avatar and go. Because once they get in, the avatar customization becomes harder, right? Because what do we do today? We need to open inventory. We need to open 2 copies of inventory. We need to figure out where everything is going. We want to make this still fun, still, all of us have very unique looks and have a lot to express through avatars. It's probably going to be less capability, but also much easier.
I'm sure you've probably heard this from the education community, but I think that's one of the key factors to getting new educators in. I think there's, certainly educators that have an interest in it, but when they see the kind of, again, for those of us who've been there, it may not be so challenging, but I think for, new users to a virtual environment that is, the whole avatar setup and creation can be kind of overwhelming. So I think it's a really hit to kind of simplify that process. And I think that's definitely a benefit to the new educators that may want to give Second Life a try, but maybe haven't in the past because it's a little too overwhelming. So I think that's, yeah.
Oh, we hope so. And what we can see in the future is as educators are setting up their specific environments, right, you could have, for example, a set of clothing that fits these starter avatars, right, that is available just for your students. You could have, hoodies and T-shirts with logos that would be fairly easy to make to fit these avatars. That would be available if you're using Reg API, right? You could do a version where through Reg API you make only a subset of things available for your students coming in, and it's just an easy and streamlined customization process.
Yeah, I'm seeing some of the conversation in the local chat about that, having new students being able to get an easy avatar creation might be helpful. I know there's some other topics that or themes you were thinking of, streaming possibilities and SLB and SL20B. Uh,
Yeah. Let's start talking about SLB first, and then I think towards the end, as we're getting to a Q&A, we're going to have some questions, perhaps even for the community, and want to hear your thoughts as well as share what we're exploring.
Yeah, so SLB is not too far off, just a few months away, as a matter of fact. It starts June 22nd or 23rd, depending on how you consider the soft opening date. And we are anticipating having a very large event this year, being that Second Life is turning 20 years old, which is fantastic in and of itself. And the some of the applications and such for performers actually just went out and went open, but I would like to encourage folks in the educational community to please, like when the exhibitor applications open up, to do sign up. I've got the team kind of focused on prioritizing you folks and making sure you get a space, and we'd like to see a nice turnout and presence there. this year. There's going to be extra space, so we'll have plenty available. The event regions this year will probably almost double in size because of our, like I said, we're anticipating it being very large. The uh, the event roster for shows and such will also open up for panels and talks and discussions and shows and things of that nature. So keep an eye on the blog as we open those various application processes up. I'd like to see a nice educational presence there this year.
All right, I think you've just thrown the gauntlet down for these educators. Come on, everybody, let's get some exhibits going on at the SLB 20, and it's really exciting that it's 20 years. It's gonna be really fun.
Bring it on.
And it's a great cross pollination, I think, to have education communities as part of this event. I know, we've been a part of it as Virtual Pioneers and VW Virtual World Education Group. So it's I think that's important to have those pieces together. So there's also, I've heard, Little Bird told me that there is some creator tools, animations import.
Yeah, we're working on several things to improve creation for creators and thereby, make the world um, look and feel better for all of us. And Mojo did quite a bit of talking about PBR and GLTF format imports, which is kind of this next step coming out of the development team, and we're getting ready, putting together materials explaining how this works. The content creators user group is a buzz the last few months working through this. And yes, the mirrors is really all I took away from that conversation. We are going to get mirrors later on, although frankly, the demos we've seen already look like a whole lot of mirrors. And so that part is exciting, and I love it every time we release something that allows creators to kind of stretch some muscles. The explosion of content that we see in SL and these cool uses that we never even imagined. It's a blast to watch. And animation imports is another project that is in the pipeline, and it is kind of an offshoot of the puppetry work. The puppetry project is really complicated, but there have been some more immediate gains that we've seen along the way. So that should be coming soon as well. Kind of a watch this space. We hope to be talking more and more about these.
Just for reference, again, maybe it's just me, but I think quite a few people may have, education is known for its acronyms, and we use acronyms to discuss a lot of things. I call it death by acronym most times. Can you just give everybody, for those of you who are not familiar, what does GLTF mean and what does PBR mean?
It is all acronyms for so PBR is an acronym for a way of rendering materials and a way of rendering content, and GLTF is an import a format that we will be able to import into Second Life. And I will drop links into chat about both, actually, which I think may be more helpful than just decoding.
So for content creators that can animate using kind of third-party software, or different software types, they can bring in their animations. Is that kind of what I'm
Yeah, so
understanding?
what we're looking for is mocap capture from animation import, and being able to essentially to bring in animations into SL easier, and to create new animations more directly.
Wow, that sounds amazing. That could be really big, I think,
Yeah,
for those content creators.
yeah. Well, and I mean, then for all of us, right?
Yeah,
Because then we get to consume it.
exactly. Yes, share and share alike. As educators, we're all about that. So a couple other, I think, themes that came on were translations and custom last names. Ooh.
So one of the things we've, you know, as we mentioned in the beginning, right? We're a small team and we have a really complex product. It always feels like, while we're paying attention to one thing, another one kind of lapses. And certainly the translation tools that we have, um, at some point we had built in various ways for non-native speakers to easily build in translations, and all of those ways have kind of bit rotted and crusted over. Uh, so we're working on first supporting kind of all of the existing translation tools, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, there's a future project for supporting server-side translation, which would be fantastic. Um, Again, I wish we were at a point where I could just say, here, it's all there. There's the specification how to do it. We're not quite there yet, so I can't give all the details. I just want to say that it is currently um, on our roadmap, actively being kind of shaped and worked on, and we hope to be able to have more details soon.
Okay, so
And
is there, oh yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
Patch,
Yeah,
did you want?
last
Yeah,
names,
great.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, some of you are familiar with the fact that we have a custom surname program, and that's been around for a while. Those of you who maybe leveraged Reg API and or have had a custom surname, potentially like, for the name of the school or something is, the last name for the avatar accounts that get created through your Reg API, that's something that we've had in place. We are kind of currently doing some additional feature work there that will expand upon that program. We'll be introducing actually a new feature called Family Names. It's going to be kind of a smaller take on the custom surname program that will allow folks to basically purchase into a surname and then elect a certain number of accounts that can then benefit from using that surname. We think that this is actually something that we've seen both requested and is being anticipated as something that folks want to do because there's quite a few different use cases and such out there for folks to have a common last name across accounts that have similar or same likes and such. And stay tuned. We'll probably have some more information coming out about this in the near future, and we hope maybe it's something that can help the educational community too.
Yeah, I think, as an educator who's used other virtual worlds, yeah, the last name, if you could have a common last name among a class or something like that, that's certainly, it's always kind of helpful. So there's some questions that I want to follow up on from people, but is there any other new feature or something that you want to add before we turn it over to questions?
Yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about possible streaming applications. Um, Again, right, nothing is new under the sun in Second Life. Um, we are looking at a streaming solution that would come in at a more reasonable price point than those in the past. And we think that educators are kind of this prime target for streaming solutions, right? Both for themselves and for the students, for conferences perhaps, right? And for bringing in more people into the tent, even if for shorter term engagements. Certainly streaming for all uses is probably unaffordable to most of us. But I'm curious whether there's a lot of interest in that. What sort of use cases educators would put first, kind of as the most likely, the most reasonable ones that are likely to get funded, for example, from your institutions, etc. And perhaps some broader use cases that you are interested in talking about as well.
Okay, quick questions here. So, how is GL defining streaming?
So, accessing Second Life through a browser. And you could imagine different special case viewers even. So you open a browser and you have access to pretty much all of the functionality of Second Life. But instead of downloading and installing the viewer, it's in a browser. And it is running on a computer somewhere else in the cloud and streaming all of the experience down to you. Eric, that's right. Both SLGo and Bright Canopy were earlier implementations of a streaming solution for SL.
Okay, so there was an earlier question from Beth, and she mentioned, is there going to be a possibility for Second Life on Chromebooks?
So that would be the solution for Chromebooks, is through streaming.
Got it. And one of the other questions earlier, let me just grab that one. Zipping through it here. Sorry, I lost it. Had a lot. I think it had something to do with the avatars. So will they give a one-time, here it is. So Pampira asked, will they give a one-time fee for life for avatars that are older avatars?
I think this question was related to SLB.
Yes, okay.
And
I was asking about Premium Plus houses. Sorry.
Patch, I'll throw that one to you.
I'm sorry, there was a question about Premium Plus homes?
Yeah.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, Pampira was asking a couple questions first about the avatars, and then she also asked if she could ask about Premium Plus houses. Pampira, was there something else you wanted to add to that question?
As I say, if you're asking about what the theme is and when they're coming, I'm not going to tell you yet.
Okay. And I think they were asking, will there be a one-time fee for life for older avatars? Does that make?
I think that question is about lifetime accounts, if I'm interpreting it correctly. Maybe? Time will tell.
All right, so let me dig through. Other questions that didn't get answered that I missed, forgive me when the stream starts flowing. I lose track. I'm also really fascinated by the conversations. There's some other special pricing. Is there still special pricing for schools and stuff like that?
Yes, yes. Education use regions and their pricing are still there. They're 50% off the normal monthly fees, and you can order them through the education region ordering page or by contacting support directly. Either way, whatever works easiest for you. The land operations team delivers those regions, so they can also take care of it through a support ticket.
Okay, and there was, will new features prevent users on older computers from using SL?
Will streaming allow users on older computers to use SL? Oh, will the new features? No, they should not. I think what generally happens, right, is at some point we stop supporting older operating systems, and some features won't work on really old computers. But no, there's no specific expectation that new features will break the existing experience. You just may not be able to see all of the glory.
Okay, so someone asks another kind of specific one. Can an estate ban be overridden by a tenant of the estate? Some owners of stores can't allow visitors who have an estate ban. That's a kind of specific one.
Sorry, I'm reading it back to myself. I'm trying to think through the question.
Well, maybe an easier one. Somebody mentioned, is there a release date for the mobile? Do you have kind of a tentative for the beta?
What is this that everybody is mad at me on the forums for? Soon TM? It is sometime in the second half of the year. I would be looking towards Q4 more than Q3 as we talk about timing for the beta. So this isn't the full featured app. This is going to be the beta. But what we're targeting for is in the App Store before the end of the year. For, again, not the full experience, but one that is reasonable and that all of you could try out.
All right, well, we're coming to our close, and I just want to say, first of all, thank you both for being here. And I also want to just say I speak really for myself as an educator who's been in Second Life for some time. I'm part of the Virtual Worlds Educational Consortium, and we've had a lot of meetings. Midori Linden has been a true blessing to us as educators, so I hope people are familiar with the VWEC and seeing the education pieces that are going on, and Midori's been just a real she's been an advocate and a support. And so I think, again, I speak for myself, but I think I could probably speak the Virtual Worlds Environment Educational Consortium to say thank you for that, for having that kind of presence within our educational groups. I think it's been really valuable and important, and I think it's helping push education along. And so I'm just grateful for both of you to be here and to answer some of these questions. And thank you for what you do. I think we all have seen for so long the potential for education, and we're keep pushing forward. And yes, I see some see Strawberry saying Midori's awesome, and she is. So again, I'm grateful for you guys for coming in and talking about this. And I know a lot of the features are beyond education, but I think they can also, every time we improve, the virtual world, it improves our possibilities for education. So with that, unless you have something else you wanted to drop on the group, I think we'll wrap it up.
I can catch the two last quick questions that I saw kind of fly through. The one on the estate permissions. The only person who can modify the estate permissions on an estate is the estate manager or the owner. So tenants themselves would have to be made an estate manager in order for them to be able to put people on the allowed list to come in. So that's the answer to that question. And I saw another question fly through about EAP settings on the mainland. This is a topic that actually has a lot of legs to it. The EAP settings in regions, if you're familiar with how they're set up in the regions, have to be set on a per region basis. Well, the poor moles may not enjoy going from region to region on the entire mainland estate and setting those by hand in every region. So we're actually waiting for a tool. And maybe at this point PBR too, because PBR is going to potentially, make the environment a little different, and we want to anticipate that. So we might wait until after PBR comes out and then look at how to tackle that best with a tool and maybe finally update the mainland EAP settings.
Thank you, Patch. Yes, we love moles and don't want to cause them quite so much pain. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It's really a pleasure. And also, this is a super fun setting.
Yes, thank you for having us. Always a pleasure every year.
All right, thanks to you both. And again, my name is Spiff Whitfield. I didn't introduce myself. I was so excited to get right into the questions for both of you. But I'm in for Kevin, who is down and out with a little bit of a cold. So I filled in, and hopefully we were able to share and chat. So thank you both.
Thank you so much. And thank you for filling in, Spiff. You've been a wonderful host.
Thanks so much. Pleasure was all mine. So thank you, everyone.